is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
(6:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Malavarachi and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister said that the present government is capable of accelerating development in the country. The report compiled by the CID on the sudden fire that erupted in the Supreme Court complex is due to be released next week. Mr. Basil Rajapaksa said every institution from the village level should be involved in rebuilding the national economy. A low-interest rate loan festival scheme for the public servants to celebrate Christmas and New Year. Jupiter and Saturn come closer to each other tomorrow. In news overseas, UK says no trade deal unless substantial shift from the EU. Those are the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the local news. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa inaugurated the construction work on the third stretch of the Central Expressway from Pothuhera to Galagedera yesterday with the groundbreaking ceremony in Lihiniyagiriya on the Pothuhera-Vadakadda road. The 31-kilometre-long Pothuhera-Galagedera stretch of the road will have 4 lanes and 4 interchanges at Polgahavela, Rambukana, Galagedera and Pothuhera. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister said the construction work is expected to be completed within the next 48 months. He added that the present government is capable of accelerating development in the country. Chief Executive Officer, Marshal of the Court, retired Major General W.D.L.P. Wickramasinghe said the report compiled by the Criminal Investigation Department on the sudden fire that erupted in the Supreme Court complex is due to be released next week. The fire broke out at the Halsdorf Supreme Court complex in Colombo on Tuesday around 4:20 p.m., initially sparking fears that the vital documents were destroyed. No damage was done to the documents, courtrooms, offices or the chambers, and the fire was controlled within 15 minutes, Mr. Wickramasinghe said. The incident compelled the authorities to close the court on December 16th due to the smoke and dust and recommenced work on the following day. Basil Rajapaksa, chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Alleviation, said yesterday a sum of 1 billion rupees per month has been allocated from this year's budget for the development of the domestic economy alone with the aim of rebuilding the country's economy, which has been hard hit by COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Rajapaksa said, although it is a difficult task, but in order to implement those projects, every institution from the village level should be involved and at least one project should be implemented per village. Mr. Basil Rajapaksa expressed these views while participating in a discussion held yesterday on the Vadasamagi Yalin Gamata Back to Village with Work through the Conversation with the Village National Program on the implementation of the 2021 budget proposals. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
And we continue with more local news. The Department of Government Information confirmed 6 more COVID-19 deaths that pushed the coronavirus fatalities count in Sri Lanka to 171. Meanwhile, another 650 persons have tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. This brings the total number of coronavirus cases from the Minuwanguda, Paliagoda and prison clusters to 32,998. The tally of COVID-19 cases reported within the country thus far has risen to 36,667, while the number of total recoveries has climbed to 27,552. Presently, a total of 8,950 infected patients are being treated at hospitals. Thunduwa East Grama Division and Thunduwa West Grama Division in Induruwa area are declared as isolated areas with immediate effect. Accordingly, the 2 areas will be under isolation until further notice. This is over an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases detected from the area. Professor of the University of Colombo's Physics Department, Professor Chandana Jayaratna says a very rare celestial phenomenon will take place tomorrow night, with the two biggest planets of our solar system, Jupiter and Saturn, coming closer to each other, probably appearing them as a big, elongated single planet. People can look at the western skies from today onwards after the sunset and will see the two planets are gradually coming closer to each other, and the closest approach will occur tomorrow, when the two planets will be separated by just about 1/10 of a degree or 1.6 arc meters. The last time these two planets appeared so close was 397 years ago on July 16th, 1623. We will get another 6 arc minute separation on March 15th, 2080, Professor Jayaratna said. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The Prime Minister said the present government is capable of accelerating development in the country. The report compiled by the CID on the sudden fire that erupted in the Supreme Court complex is to be released next week. Mr. Basil Rajapaksa said that every institution from the village level should be involved in rebuilding the national economy. A low-interest festive loan scheme for the public servants to celebrate Christmas and New Year. Jupiter and Saturn come closer to each other tomorrow. And that was the local news.
Darling, our daughter has top O-level results. Do you know what this means?
Yes, just 3 years and she'll be going abroad for her degree.
For which we'll need a bank loan.
But is a normal loan the smartest option?
What else?
The smartest way is to start an HDFC Smart Goals account.
Let your child begin their degree with no delays. Start an HDFC Smart Goals account. Call 2356 888.
Honey, you're so smart.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Vidamahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, the government has implemented a festival loan scheme for the public servants to celebrate Christmas and New Year. The loan can be repaid in 10 months at an interest rate of 0.625%. Public servants who draw a salary more than 50,000 rupees per month can get a loan of 50,000 rupees. The public servants who get a salary of 35,000 to 50,000 rupees can get 25,000 rupees. The officials who get less than 35,000 rupees can obtain a loan of 10,000 rupees. The loan will be issued through the Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank, National Savings Bank and Regional Development Bank. Loans will be credited to the account of the applicants before Friday. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
In Washington this morning, the Ministry of Education has launched an interest-free loan scheme for students to follow degree programs at non-state institutions. The students who sat for the GC Advanced Level Examination in the year 2017, 18 and 19 can apply for the scheme. The students who will not be able to enter a state university will benefit by the scheme. Those who have not exceeded 25 years of age can submit their applications. Further information can be obtained from www.studentloans.mohe.gov.lk website. That came to you in Washlight, and now we move on to the headlines of the world news. UK says no trade deal unless substantial shift from the EU. Christmas rules tighten for England, Scotland and Wales. Victoria toughens border restrictions to curb outbreak. Those are the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the world news. There will be no post-Brexit trade deal between the UK and the EU unless there is a substantial shift from Brussels in the coming days, a government source told the BBC. It is understood that there is likely to be a decision before Christmas on whether or not a deal can be reached. The two sides have been in negotiations for about how many years it will take to phase in new fisheries agreements. But an EU source said this was not the only remaining issue left to be resolved. The planned relaxation of COVID rules for Christmas has been scrapped for large parts of southeast England. They cut to just Christmas Day for the rest of England, Scotland and Wales. From midnight, a new Tier 4 will be introduced in areas including London, Kent, Essex and Bedfordshire. Those in Tier 4 cannot mix indoors with anyone not from their household. Elsewhere in England, Scotland and Wales, relaxed indoor mixing rules are cut from 5 days to Christmas Day. The Australian state of Victoria has moved to toughen border restrictions to prevent the spread of coronavirus from a growing outbreak in Sydney. Sydney residents have been told to stay at home after a virus cluster ended in Australia's 2 weeks run of no locally transmitted cases. The cases are found in Sydney's Northern Beach area, which entered a 5-day lockdown yesterday. Since then, Sydney residents have rushed to leave the city ahead of Christmas. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. UK says no trade deal unless substantial shift from the EU. Christmas rules tighten for England, Scotland and Wales. Victoria toughens border restrictions to curb outbreak. And that was the world news, and over to development news. Government has allocated 200 million rupees this year for the Surakimu Ganga Let's Protect Rivers program as one of the foremost development programs in the country. Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that the program is aimed at conserving 103 river systems. The minister also stated that an extensive program has been launched under the Surakimu Ganga program to prevent water pollution in rivers. With that, we move on to sports news. Lionel Messi equaled Brazil's legends Pele's record of 643 goals for a single club by scoring for Barcelona in yesterday's draw against Valencia. The Argentine, aged 33, achieved the feat with a diving header just before half-time, immediately after his penalty was saved by keeper Joma Domenech. Messi scored his first goal for Barca in the year 2005 against Albacete. Pele scored 643 goals in 19 seasons for Brazilian side Santos between 1956 and 1974. Still in sports news, the second test match between India and Australia will be held on the 26th of this month in Melbourne. 4 test matches are to be played between the two countries. Meanwhile, India collapsed to 36 all-out, their lowest total in test cricket, as Australia won the first test in Adelaide by 8 wickets. That was the sports news, and business news up next. People's Bank recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the Industrial Development Board and Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing to develop micro, small and medium enterprises in Sri Lanka. This is an extension of People Bank's Memorandum of Understanding with the IDB to promote local industries and brands, which was implemented under the Made in Sri Lanka Loans Program. Made in Sri Lanka is a program which was introduced in line with government's Vistas of Prosperity policy framework. That was the business news, and economic news follows.
Economic news, courtesy of
Just move on real time, save more, LOLC real time. Paying the premium for transactions, simply save now real time. Day night, no trouble for your transactions. LOLC real time. Download LOLC Finance real time app for your LOLC savings account. Attractive interest rates, transactions anytime, anywhere with a zero cost and more benefits.
And in economic news, MP Dr. Harsha De Silva says Sri Lanka will not be able to depend on China and foreign direct investments to move out of the current economic crisis. The government has claimed that Sri Lanka's foreign direct investments will grow by $2.5 billion in the year 2021. Dr. De Silva told the media conference that Sri Lanka was actually losing options. He said economic growth will go down if the importation of capital goods is curtailed. That was economic news, and the weather report to conclude.
Congratulations on your promotion. It will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And Finally, the weather report. The meteorology department says northeast monsoon conditions are gradually establishing over the island. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the northern, eastern, north central and Uva provinces and in the Mathale and Hambantota districts. Fairly heavy falls above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the eastern province and in the Mathale and Polan Narwa districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the Sabaragamuva province and in the Kaluthara, Gaul and Mathara districts after 2 p.m. That was the weather report. Before we conclude this bulletin of the news, let's get back to the headlines once again. The Prime Minister said that the present government is capable of accelerating development in the country. The report compiled by the CID on the sudden fire that erupted in the Supreme Court complex is due to be released next week. Mr. Basu Rajapaksa said every institution from the village level should be involved in rebuilding the national economy. A low-interest festival loan scheme for public servants to celebrate Christmas and New Year. Jupiter and Saturn come closer to each other tomorrow. And in news overseas, UK says no trade deal unless substantial shift from the EU. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news. And now it's back to your Sunday morning host and my good friend Mario to brighten up your day.